This episode of Base Hunters is made possible by Ascendo Immersive Audio and its dynamic North American distribution partner, Sutherland AV Marketing, providing a powerful 32-inch infrasonic subwoofer, which allows us to reveal the deepest of bass content. Also supporting us is our founding partner, Kaleidescape, makers of the ultimate movie platform, delivering bit-perfect content for analysis through their class-leading players and storage systems. Finally, this episode is made possible by Faber Acoustical, makers of Signal Scope X, a powerful software package that allows us to visualize and dissect bass content in films.
Up next on Base Hunters, we're checking out one of the best low-end films of the last decade. It's Ad Astra. Hey there, home theater fans. How's it going? I'm Todd Anderson with avnirvana.com. Welcome to another edition of Base Hunters, and this time we are turning back the clock just a little bit, about 6 years to be exact. The version we're analyzing today was provided by our great friends at Kaleidescape. It dropped on the Kscape platform way back on December 3rd, 2019. It's available in 4K with HDR10, Dolby Atmos audio, and a gorgeous 240:1 aspect ratio. Runtime is about 123 minutes. The disc launch date was December 17th, 2019. The Blu-ray carries a 7.1 DTS HDMA encode, while the 4K disc has both Dolby Atmos and True HD 7.1 mixes. And of course, this show is called Base Hunters for a reason. We are hyper fixated on the low-end sound design of the film. We're talking about 100 hertz and down. We're going to talk about things like infrasonics, atmospherics, and good old LFE bass. I'm going to give you an idea of what exactly you're going to be able to experience on your own system at home when you watch or maybe rewatch this film. And then at the end, I have some timestamps for you to definitely check out on your own system. And unfortunately, I cannot upload those scenes with an analysis tool in their entirety because YouTube is giving me a bit of pushback on that particular bit of content. So today, just going to give you some timestamps and you can go off on your merry way and check them out.
Warning, entering infrasonic territory. Prepare for analysis.
All right, so time to dive in, and it is a great thing that we have an Ascendo infrasonic 32-inch sub in our arsenal to help flesh out details and content like this, because Ad Astra is just loaded with awesome infrasonic sound. Okay, now for infrasonics, we're focused on sub 20 hertz bass. So here's our 20 hertz line on the graph. So we're interested in everything here in this pink region on our Signal Scope X FFT analyzer, and generally speaking, material with enough energy to excite frequencies above 80 hertz. So here's 78 hertz, here's 84. So we're talking along in this region and up. That's something that, at least in my home theater room, creates an energetic vibe to scenes, but make no mistake, much of the bass in this film bleeds down below 20 hertz, existing at decibel levels down around 60 hertz, down in this region here. Now, in this particular scene, you can see right here, we are getting some serious rumble happening. This is right around 16 hertz. We're hitting to about 94 dB, and that is some wickedly powerful infrasonics right there. You can see the undulations, lots of texture to this rocket as you're inside of the rocket with Brad Pitt's character. Oh, there's a peak right there, right up to about 96 dB. Now, one of the things that I love about this film and the sound design when it comes to the low end is the fact that when the camera pulls outside of a spaceship into the vacuum of space, that rumble, because sound doesn't travel, that rumble disappears. Now, in this case, you can see it fall right there. We've got rumble, all broad spectrum, all the way across the board, from infrasonics all the way up to 100 hertz. And the camera pulls out and you see it falls. And now what you're seeing here is associated with the music, but you can see once we go back into the spaceship, the bass returns. Now, when it comes to infrasonics, they're most robust in this film when they're associated with things like explosions, rocket engines, and it's really cool when two objects kind of bump in outer space. We get a nice little infrasonic bump in our own home theater room. All right, so let's kick things off with explosions, and we're going to get a good look and see how infrasonics are playing out on this giant space antenna. Let's give it a watch.
Control, I'm seeing a power surge on C-post. You getting that?
Roger that, Roy.
Control, we got a lot of people up there. Over.
Control, I think we got... Stand by, we're working the issue. Stand by. Control, they're happening everywhere.
And if we pulled this back to the beginning of the scene, you can see here, I mean, we are getting some really nice infrasonic energy in the room right there. The rising and the falling, I mean, these are very nice transient pulses of bass from anywhere from like 18, 19 hertz right down to the mid-teens. It's just super impressive stuff. Now for another scene, we're on the moon. So sound is not traveling. As the camera comes in close to the characters, almost like you're in the character's helmet, you get some nice thuds. And boy, with this explosion, we are treated to some gnarly infrasonics. I mean, this right here, folks, 92 dB, right around 18 hertz is a nice bit of rumble that adds just so much texture and weight to this scene. It's just excellent stuff. But in terms of explosions and infrasonics, those are two great examples of the kind of activity that you're going to squeeze out of this film. We also have a fair bit of infrasonics that are tied into engine blasts during rocket launches. And this particular scene right here takes place on Earth. So we're going to get some nice low-end rumble, and then you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, how the sound just cuts off once the spaceship gets into the void of outer space. So that's a nice detail that they've included throughout this movie that I appreciate. But also, here's another example of proximity to a sound source. And we've seen this in other films like Warfare recently. Right here, I mean, our face is practically in the engine. And of course, that's going to produce the loudest sound. We're getting up to about 91 dB right there, right around 18, 19 hertz. And as the camera pulls back, our sound level drops. And you can see the further back we go, the more it drops. So it's that kind of detail that makes this movie oh so sweet when it comes to the sonic presentation. Here's another look at some engine activity later in the movie as they're approaching Mars. And you can see there, once again, spaceship in outer space. We have got nice silence. Even as the engine starts to kick in there, the second the camera goes inside the cockpit here, it just starts going absolutely bonkers. And somewhere around here, I mean, we already are hitting really high peak levels of infrasonics right here, but somewhere around here, we're going to hit close to 100 dB. Yeah, right there. So we're talking 17, 18 hertz. This, folks, is an incredible spike of power. And yeah, can you feel it? You bet you can.
Captain, we're coming in too hot. Our angle's off 20 degrees.
And here's one last example of how insane infrasonics are in this audio package. We're near the end of the film, and there's some sort of power surge inside of Brad Pitt's cockpit. Let's check it out. Look at what we're looking at here. We're probably talking around 15 hertz, over 96 dB. This is ridiculously low. It's just so sweet, though. I know there are some folks out there that say, infrasonics, so what? And I present to you exhibit A through, what is that, D or E, right there, of moments where a tremendous amount of energy can be pushed into your room. And what that does is it rounds out a scene. It adds more of a tactile reaction to what's happening on screen. And it's just fantastic stuff. And this stuff is peppered throughout the film. I think those are probably the best examples that you're going to find. There might be a couple others in there that I've left out of this, but in general, we're talking about some really exquisite infrasonics, and I highly recommend you go seek them out.
Bass textures detected. Switching to atmospheric sensors.
All right, so moving on to another element of bass that just is crafted to perfection in Ad Astra, and that is atmospherics. We're talking about bass elements that just round out scenes, okay? We're talking about bass that pulses, perhaps in the movie's soundtrack, that just amps up the nature, the intensity of a moment, but also the low-end rumble that is part of the hum of a machine or within a spaceship that's traveling along. And boy, they just nailed it in this movie so well. It's so consistent. There's just this underlying rumble to many scenes that add to the weight of the moment. And here's one. This is actually more on the music side of things. You can see Brad Pitt is getting ready to step out on top of the space antenna. And let's see what's going on in the low end. And again, we're paying more attention now to this region right here.
Good morning to our astronauts up there on the International Space Antenna.
And you can see there we have a nice subtle bass roll right there in the 70 down into the 60 hertz range. And a lot of this is more on the subtle side of things, but this is what I'm talking about. These just kind of low-lying atmospherics. It adds weight to the scene. Oh, it's just so good. And here's a few moments later in the same scene, and you can see right here, this right here, again, it's more or less related to the musical score rather than live action sounds right here. But you can see they just really ratchet up as the intensity of this moment is happening. Brad Pitt's falling potentially to his death. And man, we get a really nice explosion of bass across there. And then as he's plummeting to the earth, we get a transition from the score into more of the natural sound of wind rushing by him as he's falling.
Control, do you...
And I want you to notice right here, this is still extremely powerful bass. We have right down here around 20 hertz. We're approaching about 86, 87 dB right there. Right here, we're hitting up above 90. So again, a lot like other moments in this film, we have a broad spectrum approach. And folks, if you have really good subs, this plays amazingly well. Another aspect of atmospherics in this film is just this low-lying rumble that you hear when they're inside of buildings. All right, and here we find ourselves inside of a hangar, and that hum that you see represented in this region here, that just gives an energy to being inside of the building. It brings it to life. And then we're going to see in a second here as the camera shot changes to an exterior shot on the surface of the moon. That's right, we're treated to the void of space right there. Now, here's another example, and the characters we're following are inside of a transport tunnel. You can see right there, and there is this low-end whooshing sound that brings, once again, weight, the sense of environment and movement to the scene. And this also shows us the amount of diversity that's given to moments like this, as opposed to what we just saw inside of the hangar. This has got a little bit more energy.
Our rocket is named Cepheus. The crew will be Spacecom military personnel. They're completely unaware of our mission.
Now let's get back out on the moon, because we're treated to atmospherics that are associated with vehicles that are moving. Of course, here on the moon, you're not going to hear any sound, right? So those low-end rumbles are gone. But the second we jump inside the suit of one of these characters, or actually we get close to the character, we start to experience what they are experiencing.
Very 290.
Now, I love this next clip because it marries so many of the elements that we're talking about. We're in close proximity to these characters that are riding on this lunar rover. We're going to see these weapons launch straight ahead of them. We're going to see some explosions, but we're not going to hear it, but we're still treated to the rumble of their rover. Let's check this masterpiece out. Right? I mean, you just know there's a temptation in Hollywood to have big time explosions when you have weapons blowing up enemies like that, but not in Ad Astra. They stick to their guns, so to speak. And if you're looking for some harder hitting atmospherics, this movie's got them. Here we have Brad Pitt staring up the tail end of a rocket ship.
Final checks on the flight azimuth going on at this time.
You can see there we are hitting right up to 90 dB. This is some very, very nice rumble, right in the 40 hertz range. Yeah, folks, and when I opened the show, I said this is reference material, and I think these scenes speak for themselves. The attention to detail, just the overall impact of these base elements on the film itself, and the consistency, the controlled way that they are laid out. It's really second to none, in my opinion. This is definitely one of my more favorite base films that I've seen in a very, very long time.
Engaging LFE Analyzer.
And of course, the bass richness of this film extends right up into the realm of potent LFE effects. We're talking about action moments where there are pops and bangs and explosions and propulsion. And this extends, from 20 hertz all the way up to 100 hertz, sometimes touching as high as 108 decibels. Most of it exists down below 100 dB, but we do have some really nice pops in there. And even the stuff that is below 100 dB, it's just weighted so well. It's broad spectrum. It has really nice push into your room. Again, reference. And let's take a look at some of these pulses of sound and what they look like. And right here we have a parachute that's opening, and you're going to see that it punches from the upper 20s to right around 60 hertz. And this is a nice push of energy into your room. And you can see what I'm talking about right here. We're right around 90 dB, just about 28 hertz, and it extends way up into the 60 hertz region. Just a broad spectrum punch. It has a tremendous amount of weight. And you can see it's transient, a really quick rise and fall. So you need good subs to experience this without it sounding muddy or boomy. Now, we looked at this scene earlier, but this time we're going to look at 20 hertz and above, and we have an explosion. And you can see we're getting, this is a nice kick right here. 102 dB right in the top of the 20 hertz range. Again, transient in nature, a quick rise and fall. We've got another pulse there. It's a little different. It's not samey, so get some diversification there. And then as these pieces of equipment are tumbling down and colliding, we're getting some nice pushes of bass associated with them. Just a wonderful scene.
Control, I'm seeing a power surge on C-post. You getting that?
Roger that, Roy.
Control, we got a lot of people up there. Over.
I think we got stand by, we're working the issue. Stand by. Control, they're happening everywhere.
Now back on the moon here, you can see an explosion that is happening. We had looked at this scene a little earlier with infrasonics, but you can see as we're brought close to the characters, we are treated to some bass elements. And yeah, again, very, very potent bass right here. And as I said, broad spectrum, we're still going from 20 hertz, right around 90 dB, all the way up to about 70 hertz and even beyond. We're just talking about 86 dB here. So these are really big hits of bass. But what I wanted to show you is a little further ahead in this scene. And again, it goes back to one of my favorite bass elements of this film, where we have the silence of space that's interrupted by bringing the viewer back into the proximity of a character. And here's another look at a rocket launch. We find ourselves on Mars. So we have atmosphere, and because we have atmosphere, we have sound. And this one peaks out at about 102 dB. And then a little later in this scene, we have a big punch of bass as the booster is released, followed by a really impactful thud. Let's check it out.
Let's get out of there! Beaver! Get back to your seat!
Yeah, and apparently smashing your face into a door with glass is not a good idea. And you can see the result right there. And again, another just great punch of bass. Now contrast all of that with a moon launch and, no surprise here, what you're going to find when we're on the exterior, we have silence. And then when you're brought into the spaceship, bass comes to life.
Dear St. Christopher, protect me today in all my travels along the road's way. Give me your warning sign if danger is near, so that I may stop.
Yeah, and I think that you can almost argue that the lack of bass in that scene is just as exciting as the bass that you do experience. It's just awesome stuff.
Assimilating data and generating bass analysis scorecard.
All right, folks, and there you can see the scores. For me, reference across the board, we're going straight A's, and we've got A pluses for atmospherics and LFE. This one is dialed in. I see no flaws. And for me, folks, this is a must-own film for a lot of reasons, and the low end being one of them.
Computing demo clip timestamps. Stand by.
And you can see our recommended scenes here. We have 4 of them. They range in a runtime of about 3 minutes up to about 5 minutes. My favorite one is the lunar escort scene. That would be the one that I personally would say go to first, but all of these are really amazing scenes in their own right. If you haven't seen Ad Astra because of the reviews, I say ignore those reviews and go give it a chance. I love this movie for many reasons beyond the sound design. I think the sound design is just a really sweet cherry on top. All right, folks, like, share, subscribe. Definitely come hang out with us at the Home Theater Forum over on avnirvana.com, and we'll see you next time on Bass Hunters.